I bought black paper to put on the windows, and it was like so nobody knows what's going on in here. When I was working out with another guy and law enforcement came by and I opened it. I said, listen, man, you got two options.
Hold on, Miles.
It's $1.8 million. And it sounds crazy, but I have bills. And so I jumped in the semi truck and he said, hey, we'll get you 40 to 60 hours a week. I was angry.
Hello, everyone. I'm Denise Thomas, and welcome to the CrossFit Podcast. And our guest today is Miles Lewis. Miles is a father, a husband, a 16-year CrossFit affiliate owner, a coach, and a member of CrossFit seminar staff. He's awesome. And as you'll see in this episode, his life has been marked by a willingness to take risks that many people would shy away from. Whether it's jumping out of a helicopter on a snowboard, being an early adopter and going all in on some crazy new fitness program, or schooling a group of top CrossFit execs. Yeah. And at face value, Miles is just one of the most laid back and easy to talk to guys you will ever have the pleasure of hanging out with. But as you dig into what makes him tick, it becomes super clear that he's driven by a kind of passion and courage that is rare in this world. So in this episode, Miles will share his highs and his lows and all the special moments that have helped define who he is today. Miles, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Truly, it's interesting. I mean, you've been doing this thing, CrossFit, for a long time. So have I, over 15 years. We work for seminar staff, but I don't think we've ever worked together.
No, we haven't. Yeah.
Miles, you're here on this call and because a very important person in our world, Nicole Carroll, absolutely adores you. And
Nicole is awesome.
Nicole adores you, and Nicole's awesome. And Nicole's awesome. Yeah. She adores you. Therefore, by default, you're awesome. And truly, we just want to get a little insight into who Miles is. How do we make more of people like Miles? And the magic really behind this affiliation that you've had now for 16 years, I think your affiliate is, which is 2008 established.
2008, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Really cool. So we're here to talk about the magic of Miles. But I do have to say, I watched recently your Influx with...
Oh, boy.
Yep, and I'm going to...
It's snowboarding.
I got to pull that up a little bit later, but I feel like I'm in the presence of greatness, Miles, because that was crazy. And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, the Influx was a little mini-series that Matt Chan kind of headed up. Yep. And it really is this notion of using your fitness to do things outside of the gym, right? And we'll get into your background soon. But, you're an affiliate owner, you're a seminar staff member, you're a dad, you're a husband, you're a dad of many, right? Your own flesh and blood, but also like a bunch of folks. So just tell us a little bit about Miles. Like, where did you come from and who are you?
Oh boy. Oh, let's start from the I guess the roots. So I was born and raised in Illinois, so in the center of America, the Midwest. And I think growing up and being raised there was just like, I feel like it was great. I just was instilled with a lot of good qualities and good ethics and morals. And I think the Midwest is just a great place to learn all that stuff. And then I got this bug when I was a teenager that I just fell in love with snowboarding at like 10 years old and just couldn't stop thinking about it, couldn't stop doing it. And I had just this mindset that that's what I was going to do early on. And I traveled a little bit and I was in high school up to a little place up in Canada, Whistler, Blackcomb, Big Mountain area. So I was able to snowboard there for a summer when I was younger and just had a long conversation with some pro snowboarders at the time who I looked up to. And they basically said, if you want to do anything with this sport, you got to move west. And so that was it. That's all I needed to hear. And so it was like 16, 17, 18, and all I really ever read about or more or less just knew about snowboarding was Tahoe was the spot, in magazines and videos, and Tahoe was just like, was it. And so I graduated high school and I think I had like $1,300 and a pretty crappy car, and I just headed west. This was like 2001, so there wasn't really cell phones and maps. I used the road atlas to get here. And I just had this dream that was what it was going to be. And so I got here and made it happen. That was it. Just did everything I could to do it. And yeah, that was kind of like the initial journey. And then after, just things started to go their different ways as life went on. And boy, having an affiliate, I started to do the CrossFit in 2006. I found it through another buddy at this local gym. I was working out at to train for snowboarding and doing the bis and tris, back and that stuff, the basic bodybuilding world, and recognizing that none of that stuff was really helpful for me snowboarding. It wasn't helping me get healthy. It wasn't helping me when I crashed. So randomly, this guy comes in the gym, Normal Globo gym, and he's doing CrossFit, and it just looked wild. Like, what is this guy doing, right? And at the time, some of my supplementing of my time, I went to took on like the NASM Sports Academy, or National Academy of Sports Medicine certification. Wanted to also exercise, but also want to help people exercise. I was like seeing there was a void there, and so long story short, CrossFit came across, and I tried it, and I did the Filthy 50 as my first workout, and then that was it. I didn't even finish it. I stopped like 3/4 of the way through.
What's the Filthy 50 again?
Oh God, what's it? Filthy 50, 50 reps of like 10 different things. I mean, it looks easy. It looks like there's like, jumping pull-ups, there's kettlebell swings, and everything seems pretty light. I'm like, oh, I got this, back extensions. And I think I got to like burpees. Yeah, I got to burpees, and I stopped, and I felt like dizzy and like I was going to throw up. And I just sat in front of the gym and remembered not being able to comprehend anything. It was just this wild, like, what am I doing? And I remember going home like 2 PM and like sleeping like for a couple hours. It just put me in a comatose state. And I got up and I woke up like, what is that shit I just did? Why do I suck at it? I want to do more of it. And so I just went down the CrossFit.com world and just every day did the workout. This buddy met up every day, and we just looked like, fools. Nobody else was doing it. It was wild. And then every fall, we put on this thing at our gym called the ski and snowboard conditioning class. So we just put a workout. It's like a 6-week class on just getting ready for the mountain. And so it was helping everybody prepare for the mountain. And we started to do it one summer or one fall, and then the winter kind of slowed down. It wasn't really hitting hard yet. And we're like, well, why don't we just turn this into CrossFit? And so CrossFit Avalanche stemmed, that's where it started, was just based on the ski and snowboard conditioning program. And then that was kind of like the beginning, and then it started to grow. And then all of a sudden in the summer of that year, we were looking for a spot and nailed down a spot. The economy was like tanked. It was 2008 and everything was just terrible. Everything was just falling apart. And I'll never forget the conversation I had with this landlord, and great guy. I'm still friends with him today. And he said, you want to do what? You want to open up a gym in my spot? And he had this brand new building. And then he said, yeah, that's what we want to do. And I remember the conversation, well, at least I'm going to have a cool place to work out for a year, if I sign this year lease. And so, boy, we did it. And it was just crazy because nothing like that had ever existed. And so everybody was just on board. And it just went from, 12 members to like 100 in a few months. And it was just everything. And shortly after that was like, we got motivated to open up another gym. And if you look in the internet more, you might see a thing called the Tahoe Throwdown. And that was when Rogue versus Again Faster came up to Tahoe to do a little event. That's some old school CrossFit stuff right there. And so that was where we opened up a second gym. And then, the story goes on. There's so many different branches I can go off on that story.
Oh, we're going to go
ideas.
On all those branches.
Cool.
Miles. I'm just excited to talk to you about all of it. So I will go off left, right, and center. So feel free to do the same. But I think you're underplaying your snowboarding ability just a tiny bit. And I knew you were good. I just didn't know how good until I watched this influx. And
nice.
I feel it's only necessary that we pull up a little clip from that
Oh boy.
from
Okay, I'll
that,
see
that
which one it
episode.
is.
It's the second
I'll walk you through
episode.
it.
And for those folks that are not watching this on the video, they only got the audio. Miles took himself to Alaska with his your business partners, I believe.
Correct. At
'Cause
the time, yeah, yeah.
yeah, at the time, one of your members owned this company where he does heli skiing, right? So you basically get in a
Yeah.
helicopter and they drop you in the middle of nowhere in Alaska, and good
Mm-hmm.
luck, get down this mountain somehow.
So, I mean, it appears that way, but there's the professionalism that those guys demonstrated. I mean, is the gnarliest place to snowboard in the world, in my opinion. But you never felt really danger. The guides, the owners, everybody was just amazing up there. So,
I'm gonna pull it up, and
okay, cool.
I was like in awe of this. So, what's the vertical?
As far as vertical goes, I think we're at snowboarding probably like somewhere 3,000 or 4,000 feet in total. Um, it's controlled in a way that you get to watch it when you're flying up on the helicopter. You kind of see what you're looking at and kind of pick out what you're going to do. And then when you get to the mountain and you're looking down, it looks like nothing like you just looked at. So you're kind of guessing, but you have walkie-talkies close by in your ear. And so when you're snowboarding down, you'll hear somebody say, go right, go left, go faster, because maybe there's like an avalanche chasing you, or there's something of danger, because there's people that are going to look at you from afar and watch you. And so you're on your own up there, but sometimes you can hear the voices in your ears like, go, 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 go right,
Now,
go right, go right.
now,
So
wrong
it's
way.
a little stressful, but in the meantime, I don't know anybody who's ever done these kinds of activities, these sports. There's a thing called like a flow state, and I don't know if anybody's ever really you can't really articulate it well, but I'll tell you, like in my mind during this moment, or during these big lines, that time just kind of slows down, and everything that's presented in front of you, you have this management practice. You kind of know what you're going to do, but there's very little other noise. So you're in this mode that you're just doing everything, and it's going fast, but I feel like in some cases during it feels like it's in slow motion. So I just feel like that's the addiction there. That's when you get into those states and you get to the bottom and your adrenaline's just pumping, and you just more or less survived this line. You want another one.
It's bonkers to me, Miles.
Yeah.
People that are listening are probably like, why are we talking about snowboarding? Like, what's that got to do with affiliate
Yeah.
ownership? But it has a lot to do with who you are and the steps. This is from my perspective that you've taken in your CrossFit journey. So coming back to the affiliate, you decided to affiliate and open this place because you wanted somewhere to train for your sport. You had some friends who also wanted to do the same thing. You're like, I know, let's open a gym. Here it is, right here in Lake Tahoe. And was that always the original location that you were in?
So just the environment here. I don't know if you've ever traveled here. Anybody's ever been here. Everybody in this town, it's a mountain town. Everybody's so active. They really genuinely do so many things, and it's really like it's funny, like when we encourage in CrossFit, take a rest day. Denise, take a day off and just let your body respond and chill. And our rest days in Tahoe are like, I'm just gonna do like a 30-mile bike ride, a little bit of a paddleboard, maybe a little snowboard in the afternoon, whatever. The amount of activity people do is just, it's constant. And I love that about our space and our area. And, there's very little laziness, so to speak. Everybody's just active. And even just to live here, if you don't even do those sports, just to live here in general, just to get up and down your stairs or to shovel snow, you have to be pretty athletic and pretty fit. So it really was easy to apply this principle of fitness to this area, because what I say to everybody that comes to the gym, you're in this CrossFit Avalanche space to get better so you can do those other things better, right? So you can go and do all those sports more frequently or without injury. And so it really, it helps people understand it, and they can apply it pretty quickly. It's not really about like, hey, I want to lose this extra weight, or very little people come through the door that are like, hey, I want to train for the CrossFit Games. It's not like that here. It's more about just getting fit for life, and just being more capable, and I think that alone makes it so much more fun when there's a reason behind the training, so that's where kind of the whole CrossFit Avalanche more kind of focuses on stuff like that.
Man, I should just move to Lake Tahoe. I actually did drive through King's Head. It was closed. The
Kings
gym,
Beach.
King's Beach,
Yeah.
sorry. It was closed. And I'm like, this just looks like a cabin in the woods. This,
It
but
yeah.
I've got
Yeah.
a couple of images that I want to show with the viewers because your gym isn't big. You live in a very expensive area.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that sometimes becomes the issue with affiliate ownership, right? It's like
Yeah.
small space, a lot of overhead, expensive things. We got to get bigger. We got to get bigger. And you never did.
Sure.
But I want to show you, I want to show everybody your gym.
Some pictures,
Some
yeah, go for
pics.
it.
Yeah. So
Oh yeah. That's just right out the front door.
that's right out the front
Yeah, that's
door. That
the-
is.
That's Lake Tahoe. That's right there. That's right across the street. So at the end of that, so on the other side of that truck, we use that for like our short distance, maybe sprints, or farmer carries, stuff like that. And so we go to the end of the sidewalk and back, and it's about, I want to say like 50 meters total. If you were to sprint it, you can get it done in like 30 seconds. So it's a short distance, but look at the view, right?
Oh, it's.
That's like an afternoon shot.
and
I
your
think.
gym's right
Yeah.
here, right? It's like up here.
Right here, yeah, to the
Yeah.
left, yeah. Like I'm just standing on in the parking lot.
So we're basically seeing this beautiful red sky with the mountains in the background. Lake Tahoe is right there,
Yeah.
and I'd say like a baseball throw, maybe not my throw, but somebody that had
Yeah, right.
a throwaway
Yeah, it's right there.
from his gym. Now, people new prospects for opening affiliates have a completely different understanding of what it means now to open an affiliate.
Sure.
And there's
Yeah.
reasons for that, right? It's like you need a certain amount of cash, you need a certain amount of space, you need to have the right equipment. I mean, back in 2008, there was really only the rivals, right? You said it, the Lake Tahoe Throwdown. It was like Rogan again faster.
Right.
It's like,
right,
who
right.
is it going to be? And then it was like, let's get some space and just buy a couple of barbells and rock and roll.
So let me give you like the rundown of the Avalanche location history. So I had 2 locations. I had a business partner for about 10 years. As any business partnership goes, you start growing apart. And about 10 years into it, we just made a decision to take our separate locations. So he took one gym, I took the other, and we just went our separate ways. But that particular space was the original space in a brand new building. It was like 1,700 square feet. It had the stereotypical garage gym, though. It had the big ceilings, the door, everything. What had happened was the owner of that building had built the building and finished it in 2008, and the economy fell apart, and they really just needed somebody in there to rent it. So it was really cool. We jumped in, rented it, and went on for about 10 years, and then had another spot in Truckee. And as I said, the partnership dissolved. Right around 10-year mark, the owners of that building had a meeting with me, like, hey, our business has expanded, and we actually need our space back. Like, okay, all right, here we go. So
people listening have probably have heard that conversation many times.
yeah, or you're presented with hey, we're going to raise the rent. So really got good guys, stand up guys. A handshake's a handshake with these guys, and they gave me some time, like, hey, just to let you know, we need our space back eventually. We're trying to expand. So I said, okay, cool. So I started hunting for commercial space in Tahoe, all the way from Tahoma, which is the farthest west part of the lake, versus Incline Village, which is the furthest north city. I mean, we're talking an hour back and forth, or an hour from one end to the other. I was on the hunt for something CrossFit gym feel, and it was not anywhere. And as I was on this hunt, the current place that I was looking at, I saw a for sale sign out front, and I was like, holy shit, this is a great spot, but I see that it's in escrow with somebody. Like, okay, it's kind of accounted for. But about 20 days later, it falls out of escrow and it's active again. So I said, hey, to a real estate agent client of mine, hey, will I get a look at inside that place, And within a couple hours, we get the keys, and I opened the door, and it looked nothing like it does now. But I looked in the door, and I was like, holy cow. I look up and down, and I'm looking around, and I literally was like, this could work. Like, I can make this work for sure. Let's go. So let's do this. What do I need to do? So I started to go down.
Miles, can I ask real quick? 'Cause this is interesting, because people that are interested in affiliating, one of the hardest things to do is find a location. And you
Sure.
want to
Yeah.
open an
Super hard.
affiliate so bad that you see these red flags, and maybe they're not even red, maybe they're kind of orange. Like it's clearly red, but
Mm-hmm.
you make it orange, and then if you can make something orange, you can make it green, and you're like, oh, I don't really like that, but it's fine because you just want to open. Did you have that when you were looking, and or was this the first one, and was it just
Okay.
so like
I love it.
I
I love it.
know
Great
like
question.
this is the one, right?
Okay. So back up to the original years of CrossFit. So when I was 25, I think I opened the gym. I'm 41 now. I don't know if that all maths out. Anyway, my dad was diagnosed with real terminal brain cancer, which, by the way, he's alive today, barely, but he's still kicking. I was able to see him 2 days ago, yesterday, and I had a conversation with him as his son and a dad, and I said, "What are you thinking right now? You got some pretty big things on your plate." And he says he's looking back at his life and he says he didn't take enough chances. And that hit me hard. It was a really impactful time in my life. I was 25. I mean, it would hit me hard now if I didn't hear that before, but he, on his deathbed, more or less, statistically, I was reading the numbers like this. This is it. He said he looks back at his life and didn't take enough chances. It was like, okay, it's a big deal. He's like, not the risking your life chances, but if there's an opportunity, I think about all these opportunities I didn't jump in. I was like, okay, like noted. I got that in my head now. And then I was walking to the post office one day, and I had this idea in mind, and I saw a guy. His name is Dr. Frank Savinsky, author, local doctor, and he asked me. He's a great motivational guy. He's like, "How's the gym idea coming along?" And I said, "You know what, Frank? I'm just kind of, I'm not sure. I'm a little nervous about it." And he says to me, this is maybe not the best platform for it, but I'm gonna tell you what he said in quotation marks. He says, "Miles, a guy with big balls can't sit on a fence." And I stood there and he walked away. And then he turned around and he told me, he goes, "It's one side or the other." And that was the last words I ever heard from him. He passed away a number of years later. But that message to me was like, just fucking go for it, right? And what are you going to do? You just lose a bunch of money? It's just money, right? Max out those credit cards and just let it
Ding,
rip.
ding.
I had a dream. I had an idea, and it's just like, take a chance, You're going to be 60 one year, and all of a sudden you're going to be diagnosed with a terminal brain cancer. And all of a sudden, what are you regretting? So I don't want to have those regrets, and I want to take a chance, and it was just that. That was it. And so moving forward, just the chances, the risk. There's always like risk. There's always, you can just look everywhere and you're going to be told all these things. But I had a conversation with somebody recently, and it was a while ago, but he said, "What would you tell yourself?" And I can ask you this too, Denise. What would you tell yourself if you had to go back in time to 10 years ago, Denise, And you don't have to answer the question, but like, what would you tell yourself to do? And we can all do that. Like it's this wild, like, oh yeah, boy, I wish I would have done this. Oh, I wish I would have invested in Apple or whatever. That's not like that, but more or less like, boy, I wish I would have done this or taken that chance because it would have come to fruition, right? And then flip it around and say to yourself, what would you do if Denise or your version of you from 10 years in the future comes and knocks on your door today? And what would they tell you to do? And I tell you that everybody knows what that 10-year future person's going to tell you. And you can keep it in. You're like, yeah, this guy's going to tell me, he's going to tell me something, right? And I know if that future person told me. So when I was presented with that building, my 10-year future self, if I had to go back in time, I would have told myself, try to find a commercial space and purchase it. Somehow make it happen because you're going to be in this game for a while. Well, my 10-year future self was like that too. He said, buy this building. And so that's what I did. I was able to purchase the building, but I had to go through so many hoops.
Had you ever ran a business before? Was this your first?
No, this was it.
And you were like, I don't know what I'm doing. Here we go.
I had no idea. No. And being naive, I think, saved me, not knowing.
Yeah.
But you kind of, the entrepreneur and anybody, they say like, you jump off a cliff and figured out how to build a plane on the way down.
Yeah.
And it was more like that. Nowadays, I think opening an affiliate, there's so many more tools and so much more experience out there. but it could be a fault. It could be that, hey, I don't want this risk, but the risk is where I feel the reward was. But it was this SBA loan that I more or less I had to leverage my current home, which I own in Tahoe, and it was like, okay, you have some equity in it. Then I had to leverage like a life insurance policy. I had to do all these things, right, in order to get it, but it was an easy way in.
Did you have kids at that
I
time?
do. Yeah, the whole time. Like,
Oh
you're
man.
making. I
I'm
know.
like,
But hey,
because I know what
there's the
people are thinking. They're like, yeah, this single guy, nothing to lose. I'm like,
no
no.
kids, and I tell you, I don't have like a trust fund or a back. I don't have a plan B. Okay, so it was like, let's roll, let's do this, like cannonball. Here we go. But I tell you right now, like, and I think people that when you believe in, and I really did believe in CrossFit and what it's doing to people and what it has done to people, that like, I can't lose. I got to go hard on this because it's such an impactful movement. And it was like, this is it. I believe in it so much, and it's authentic and it's working and it's crazy and I can do this. And I did it. I went for it. And it was just the experience. Now I could, more or less write a whole blog on like, hey, what to do. But it goes back to the original, like just there's an opportunity, go for it. Right. And if people out there like want to open up a gym, and I see these folks at level ones and they have these ideas, like, go for it, dude. Just do it. Or if you got an idea, if you're a couple or you're somebody that's just got this passion, go for it. Start small and just grow it. And that's the kind of trend happened early on in the CrossFit world where we all did start small. And then like in the mid 2000 teens, they started to realize that there was people looking at this as a bit of a business opportunity. So people were coming in with money. And I remember getting people email me like, hey, what do you think about this equipment list for my first gym? And there's like 10 GHDs and 30 rowers. Like, whoa, what are you doing? Who's got the money here? And you're never going to make a ton of money on it in most cases. I mean, some people do, but you just got to really believe in it. And if you can start small, it's really anybody's game. And it all it is, so many people started off that way that I did with just such a small and like we had 10 people that liked to do it. And then it just grew and grew and grew. And then you stuck to the principles of it and you stuck to the message and the care and compassion. And all of a sudden it just 15 years go by. Like, holy shit. Yeah. It's been going for a while, but for people looking to do it and looking to jump into it, like, can't have big balls if you sit on a fence, right?
The whole point of talking about your snowboarding experience in the beginning was because of the risk. Like nobody gets into that kind of snowboarding if they're afraid to take a risk. And
yeah,
you said it. We can make money running a CrossFit gym, but the way that you have that trajectory is going to look very different depending on how fast you want to make that money, or if money is the reason. And I'm of the belief, and I feel like you are because you did it, is that you can still start small today. You can find a 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 square foot gym. It's got one bathroom, a couple of barbells, a lot of partner workouts, your forced interaction, and you grow. You grow it, you grow out of a space, or you grow into something else. But I can only imagine, and I want to ask you this, there can't have been many CrossFit gyms around in 2008, and you're doing this thing that you love, like as an athlete, but there was a business plan behind it. Like, where did you get your business advice from?
Not really. I mean, honestly, it was so just kind of fly by night. Going back on your original, just the fear, right? And I can relate this to snowboarding, and I try to speak this to my kids and anybody that's fearful of anything. I just, in general, like up on the tops of those mountains, the people up there would say like, hey, don't fall out this side of the mountain because you're going to die. And then don't go over there because you're going to die. So you're like, okay, I have really limited options here. I have to make it. There's nobody saving you on some of these big peaks. The helicopter can't even land to get you, so you're on your own. But in my mind, all I ever thought about, I trained myself this way to think about all the things that can go right. Like, how is this line down this mountain going to feel during it, at the end of it, all of it? I can just put that whole thing in my brain and just capture it. Like, how's this going to feel? Like, fear is fake, right? We think of it. We think of all these ideas that can go wrong, and it makes us nervous. But in those moments, I was thinking, what can go right? So I would challenge somebody that's opening up a CrossFit gym or wants to, like, think of all the things that can go right. Like, fuck all that stuff that goes wrong, because it's always going to be there, but don't think about it, right? But just imagine those moments, imagine those things that are going to go right, and put yourself in that feeling that you can actually like experience it, and it'll consume you. And all of a sudden you're like, this is it, you know? So that mindset of imagining what can go right, I think is a big message that I think like I could put that on anybody's platform with anything. Just think about that, you know? I think it's a good message.
We got some good ones from you. We've got not sitting on a certain area of the fence with certain
Yeah.
things.
Hmm.
Pick a side
Yeah,
and
for
ask
sure.
yourself what could go right. I
Hmm.
think, yeah, we do sometimes fall into the negative way of like, let's poke holes in this. What could go wrong?
Yeah.
But man, what if it goes right? You know, so you've got 2,000 square foot space. How many bathrooms? How many showers? How many members? What's your average class size? Just kind of paint the picture of CrossFit Avalanche, because
Sure.
I know what I'm thinking. I'm like, okay, expensive area, a small space.
Hmm.
Miles is always smiling. So now I'm just going to call you Magical Miles from now on because it works. And like, you just live this very purposeful, intentional life. And we know affiliate ownership is hard. So
Yeah.
can you set the stage for us? Because I think it will maybe answer some questions that we've got
Sure.
from the listeners.
So the makeup, the general membership base of CrossFit Avalanche is just mostly all local people. They're not those very few people are the people you saw me in that video, the snowboarders, the extreme people. They're just normal folks.
2,000 square foot of space. I can imagine people are like, wait, how many people are in a class?
Yeah, so we have I have a on a Monday, let's just use a Monday for example, a 6 a.m., a 7 a.m., an 8:15, 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, that's the morning, and then a 4, 5, and 6 in the afternoon. Um, I do all of my own programming, so I make the workouts. And if you can imagine that alone, just with the space, unique space, you have to be creative. So whether it be like an every minute on the minute or a Tabata or something where we do incorporate running when we can, because in the winter we can't run. So running, I have a outdoor workspace, so we'll bring barbells outside. And to be honest with you, nobody ever complains because it's such a beautiful space. You know, you're outside, you're looking at the lake half the time, or you're out there and you're just outside. And so people want to do that. And so in the summer when it's busier, I'll definitely add some more outdoor space to the mix. You know, that works.
Yeah, I can't imagine just working out and having Lake Tahoe in your as your
Yeah, it's
scenery.
real hard to say no to that one.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I think I'll stay home. But your class size in the gym, what is it? 20 people, one coach? Is it 30 people, one coach? Do you have a ratio there? Do you have like
We
a
usually
recommendation?
the limit's 15.
Okay.
So I have all the classes limited at 15. And in my mind, when I program, I think about that. You know, how does this workout go timing wise, and how can it make it flow well? And so I've been doing my own programming since the day I started, and I really like it and I enjoy it. And I know there's a ton of great resources out there, and I encourage everybody to try them all out.
How did you
But
know?
what I found was,
How did you know
I,
to program? Like,
well, in the early stages of it, you know, the .com was the general. You know, you followed kind of like CrossFit.com, and what the reoccurring theme was like, this workout may not work where we're doing it. Like I can't. I only have one GHD machine, for example. I don't have 10 of them, so it'd be really hard to structure a class around it. And so it became this like, okay, why don't I have a go at my own and just see how it goes? And so back in the day, you didn't have anybody else. You kind of went for it, and you made mistakes. You know, you did things that were bad or too long or too short, and you know you're always nervous about causing harm, and you don't want to do that. And so yeah, and I'm still learning, and everything is always an experiment, and not everything, but I also do the workouts myself in the morning, so I know, and there's been times where I'm in the middle of the workout going, no, this can't be this many rounds. We gotta take a round or two off this, you know, and so there's still that, but the programming, it caters to your people. I think if you're in an environment where you have a lot of competing competitor CrossFit people who are like, you know, looking to use it as a sport, then there's some great tools out there, but not everybody's into that. Not everybody's doing it for their main focus. And so I had to kind of digest that, and then back and forth with logistics and class sizes and weather and all those things. I just kind of developed my own way of doing it, and it's worked for me. And that's different for everybody. Everybody's got a different community, you know.
I really liked what you said that you do your own programming because of the environment and the equipment that you have in your gym. You have to make it work. And then also your people. Nobody knows your gym like you, and nobody has that intimate connection to all the equipment that's in there. So once you get that fundamental understanding of variance and how we can kind of combine elements, and then you start to step back and look at your gym and you're like, okay, this will work. It has to be, like you said, an EMOM. It has to be a time-based piece. If we're going to use this piece of equipment, there has to be a certain amount of time between other things so everyone gets a punch. And when you started programming for your gym, did it make you a better coach or a worse coach?
Oh yeah, way better.
How so?
You're I say the word loosely, you're catering to the needs of your people, but you're not. You're seeing the problems that they have, and so the giving them stuff that makes them feel better or feel, I don't know, getting them stronger is what you're trying to do. You're not necessarily giving them what they want, but you're giving them what they need.
Work on the weakness.
Yeah, you can see that happening, and I think that's really cool. So of course it makes you a better coach. Yeah, big deal.
Yeah, and I don't when I put a workout together and I'm like, ooh, this one's gonna be so good, and you get really excited to deliver it and like present it to your members and see if it actually what you thought it was gonna be comes alive. And like you said, sometimes you get it wildly wrong and you're like hiding in a corner, and then other times you're like, that was my workout. I did that.
Totally.
I love it. Programming, we say at the level 2 in the programming lecture that programming is secondary to coaching, and we believe it. And you started though with a base. You started with, let's call it the mothership, right? It was CrossFit.com. And just by following something for a certain amount of time, there had to have been this subliminal understanding. I think I've used that word like 3 times.
Sure, it's okay. I understand. That makes sense.
But it's true. It's kind of sneaky, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I think tomorrow might be long. Because yesterday was short, or I think we're due a heavy day. Oh, we haven't been below parallel for a couple of days. And you start to just pick up on these functions and schemes and prioritizations and the modalities. And did that do that for you with CrossFit.com, that give you that confidence to try it?
Yeah, 100%. The variations of workouts, I think, was what intrigued me the most. Like, there are so many ways to spin this, and we can do so many different things that you're never really bored. So if you have any sort of attention deficit disorder, CrossFit's for you, right? You come in and just do different things. Revisiting benchmark workouts is awesome, and it really does help you track what's happening to you. Okay, good.
Can you just explain benchmark?
So like
just for some,
let's just say a 3 rep max deadlift. You're somebody who's new to the gym and you're new to CrossFit, and you come in and I put you through a 3 rep max deadlift. Well, I'm certainly not going to take you and see what your actual limit is that day. We're going to give you some weight and we're going to have you lift it and do it really, really well. And if we start to see any mechanical issues or anything that starts to be a problem, we stop. We don't go there. And then the next time, let's call it another 3 months later, we do something exactly the same, another 3 rep max deadlift. And we put you on the bar. And now, as a result of the 3 months you've been doing everything, you're getting stronger. Your core is getting stronger. Your coordination, everything is starting to get trend in the right direction. And then we get you on the barbell, and your 200-pound 3 rep deadlift looks like 240. And that's a big deal. You go up. And so we see that as a personal record, and it shows up on the software, and it's great. You're getting better. Whether you lost 3 pounds or you look better naked, that's beside the point. But when you actually perform better, like, that's the goal. And then the amount of confidence it gives people, like, fuck yeah, I am getting stronger, and I might not, maybe I don't see it as much. Maybe, the anatomy's not changing as fast as I thought it would, but like, damn, you just lifted a lot more weight, and it's cool. It's empowering. And as a coach, you see that, like, yeah. And so taking those things and as a coach being able to empower people, like, that's really cool experience. And watching those people's mindsets just evolve into this, like, next step, like, yeah, I'm ready to do more. And then you're almost holding them back. Like, okay, cool, let's just save a little bit. I don't want you to lift too much, or you're gonna, make this a problem. But yeah, that's the benchmark world, and we gotta get those in there as often as possible.
So it's like it's a set workout, and you use the example of a 3 rep max bench press,
Yeah.
and a lot of people on the call will know this, but I think that they're so important. And then you repeat the exact same thing in a certain amount of time, and you'll revisit these benchmarks repeatedly over X amount of years and your whole time in CrossFit. And they're not just lifting, but they can also be like, it could be like a 5K run, or it could be
Yeah.
a
All the things.
set
So many
workout.
options. Yeah.
Do you find that, because you said that mental adaptation that occurs, or that mindset, it's that adaptation between the ears that we talk
Huge.
about,
It's huge.
and the approach. Do your members get excited on benchmark days? Does it like fire them up?
Yeah. And a lot of times, it always is, as a trainer, I've always found an unsuspecting person would enjoy certain things that I wouldn't have expected. And let's just stereotypically a weightlifting move where just a normal soccer mom comes in and it's bench press day. Like, you get the people like, bench presses, but all of a sudden you see some of these movements and some of this weightlifted, and the way it makes you feel, and watching these people just like I said, get empowered. It really is surprising in some cases who gets empowered by what. But and it's cool when people know, like, okay, this mile run, last time I did it in this, I got to do it in this. And it's a little carrot that hangs out in front of them, and everybody organically wants to get better. And that's why they're all there at the CrossFit gym, to get better. And when they have that moment where they do get a PR, like, it is awesome. It feels so good,
Is it? You say like the soccer mom. It really could be anyone, right? That is. Against...
I just use that as an example. It could be a poor example,
yeah.
But just the amount of people I've seen that deadlifts. I had a woman who had really liked sledgehammers, and she was this little old woman who worked in an office, and you wouldn't look at her at the street and think, okay, she likes to hammer the tire, and this woman loves it. Like, okay, this is great. So I never really judge anybody, I just throw it at them, and everybody, ultimately you kind of see where people like and what they don't, and it happens. You never know. You can no longer stereotype,
It's the bench press is a really great example of this, because it is your classic traditional kind of lift, right?
Sure.
Everyone's like, what's your bench press? Like, at least, in college, like, what's your bench
Yeah.
press? And it's not as sexy as like a snatch.
Sure.
I mean, also there's probably people listening being like, what are you talking about, Denise? Bench
Well,
press is
just,
really sexy.
Yeah.
But there's that first, I don't want to bench press. My heart rate's not going high. I'm not getting sweaty. I came here to work out. What is this nonsense? And then you said that kind of journey and that mindset shift of they're coming in with wrist wraps now, right? Wrist and chalk, and they're ready to go, and they're putting plates under their benches.
Serious now,
heel drive. And I think what happens in the gym is really cool, but what have you seen that mental shift do for people maybe outside the gym, or have you had exposure to that?
I could talk for hours on this, and just the unique stories, and how many people. I most recently had a woman, and I can tell you this, and a lot of affiliate owners and coaches would know, how many people come to you at some point crying, and it's more of an emotional release of something. I say more times than not, it's something good. They feel good, Obviously, there's the occasional something's gone wrong and they're upset and whatever, there's a lot of that. But when I see somebody that's so emotionally taken by their most recent experience that they cry, I mean, you got to be something wrong with you if you don't personally feel that as well. And when they come to you, and it's just like this, I don't know, reinforcement of what you're doing, And I had a woman that was just so happy that she was able to carry all of her gear to go camping. She didn't have to have anybody help her. And it was something so little that you and I would seemingly not really care about. But this woman got some independence back that she had lost for a while, for whatever reason. And she's not that old. She just, for some reason, things didn't go that way. And for her to be able to do that and then see the eyes well up, and then, you're like, hell yeah. And you can't, it's just so authentically cool to see somebody change the way they live their life, and how you've helped them. You've helped, and you haven't really done much. You've just been there and you kind of corralled them in the right direction. But and I keep telling them, like, it's not me. Don't thank me. Thank yourself. You're a badass. You're putting the effort in. You're the one showing up and sweating and working. And so be proud of yourself. I'm just trying to keep the lights on. That's my job, But at the end of the day, it's the little conversations you have. Like, how much did I deadlift? Well, how much you want to deadlift? 85. No, put 95 on the bar. You can do it. You start to look and trust these people, and they trust you. And then you're always pushing. You're always trying to get a little better, just a little percentage, just a little bit better each time. And before you know it, the things they say and the things they do, like, even blows their own mind. So it's really rewarding.
Yeah, I mean, functional movements
Yeah.
are they're essential, and they are essential to your independent living and quality of life. And I think
Where have I
sometimes
heard that
that's
before?
hard.
Uh-huh.
I made that up, Miles. That was mine. Now we say that at the level one, and it's true. It's easy to get a little bit jaded by the sport of it and the things, which is so cool, by the way. Like the fact that we're pushing human performance to next levels is great, but really underneath that kind of veil, if you will, there's people like this lady, and right, she probably been told by society that she wasn't an athlete, she shouldn't be doing these things, it's not for her, she's going to get hurt. And CrossFit completely just takes that away. It's like, no, you are an athlete, you are worth something.
Yeah,
and
you
I'm
got
going
this
to
shit.
make sure that
Yeah.
you know that you're worth something by putting that extra 5
Yeah.
pounds on, or by doing that bench press. And it seems to me that the culture that you have at your gym, CrossFit Avalanche, is really freaking cool.
It is cool.
Like I said before, I don't think that's not just luck. Like, how did that happen? Like, you've created that, Miles, and I hope you recognize that. Now, 16 years.
Yeah.
That's like a human.
It's a
like
lot.
a human that has
goes quick.
responsibilities.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. 2008, you began, and now we're here in 2024. And the last 4 years has probably been the rockiest,
Yeah.
right? As an affiliate owner, and if you're a member of the CrossFit community, we've been through some ups and downs for sure. But back in 2019, we got hit with COVID. And many gyms, sadly, didn't make it, right? They had to close down. They just couldn't sustain their business. Somehow you managed to continue. And again, in a very expensive area. I can't emphasize this enough. Like, how did you navigate that initial storm? Like, can you talk us through that process?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm grateful to be here.
Great answer.
I pushed back on it quickly. I was like, this is not good. None of this is good. I don't like what is trending. The whole shelter in place thing, the whole thing just egged me wrong, and I was not okay with it. And I started to see things go the wrong direction, and I pushed back as long as I could. Nope, I'm not going to do it.
What does that mean?
Well,
what were some of
the amount of
conditions
people
for you?
saying we're going to stay at home, we're going to shelter in place, we're going to do these things, we're going to do blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, we're going to stay open. We're going to do our things. Well, there was starting to push in certain counties and certain areas. And I was like, no, I can't. We got to keep this going. This is my only source of income for my family. Like, no. And people started falling off the roster, all the members. And I'm like, holy shit, this is for real. And so it was the last possible moment. And I finally had to break. I was like, okay, I got to close down. And so I immediately wanted
How
to.
long was that period, Miles?
Like,
from like
the start to when I closed down. I mean,
yeah,
I don't remember the weeks, as long as I could. And there were some diehard people that are like, cool, we're in. And then all of a sudden, it was pressure from society that just really caused me to do that. And honestly, everybody, it was happening everywhere. There's nothing else you can do. And I decided, okay, I'll try this Zoom workout stuff. And I'm like, I'm a very low tech. This is Tahoe. I'm lucky to have internet some days, and so there was I did it for maybe a day, 2 days, and I was like, this is not okay. People are not into it. So I immediately hey, message everybody that wants gear, come grab it, sign it out, So I signed pretty much everything out, which is wild because I didn't even have anything for myself. It's like, holy shit, y'all took everything, you know? And I had been closed down for 2 days, and reality was there. We're like, hey, I don't have any financial safety net here. And so in my journey in life, I I acquired my what's called a Class A commercial driver's license. So I have a license to drive a semi truck, a big truck, and I before I opened a CrossFit gym, I did that for summer work, and I left that behind 16 years ago. It's like that's not I'm done. I'm just gonna be a CrossFit affiliate owner, and I kept the license active. And so the owners of the building I used to rent from had an excavation company, and I just happened to text him, and I said, "Hey, do you need a truck driver?" And he said, "Holy shit, yes." And I said, "Okay, what do you need? I'm in." And so I got back in a big Peterbilt semi truck, and I had to help move a giant building with um, cranes and stuff. And it was honestly, Denise, like the last thing in the world I wanted to do. I was, I was at this crossroad of like, okay, I got to eat some shit right now. I got to feed my family. I know what has to be done. I can't sit around and do nothing. I have bills. And so I jumped in the semi truck and he said, "Hey, we'll get you 40 to 60 hours a week until whatever." And so I got back in and I started driving a semi truck. And I'll tell you, I immediately grew a beard, which I still have to this day. I was angry. I wasn't happy. And so I grew the beard so it could hide my scowl. You know, I was just like, just mad at everybody. And I did it 12-hour days, and I was getting paid well. It was enough to pay the bills. And I didn't have a lot of all these little grants and all these little things took time. None of that, the PPP loans, all these things were just like distant thoughts that maybe could work, and I needed something now. And so I started working, and I just did it. And my wife was supportive, and she knew I had to do what I had to do, and I did it. And so I started listening to country music a lot more. Go. You
Oh
got a
yeah,
question.
and
Go.
chewing tobacco. Were you like, were you doing this job alongside like coaching classes too on Zoom?
So we had kind of like, I kind of shelved the whole class. Like literally the gym closed down. I tried the Zoom things. Nobody wanted it. I would randomly do what I called pop-up workouts where you like, hey, meet at this spot outside. You know, there was still, but even then in the beginning, people were like, don't go outside. Don't go around other people. It was so weird, right? So we we just kind of stopped, and I kept in contact. I'd put a workout up there every day on my on at the time I think I had Instagram. I'd put a workout up there. I used the Wodify software to still put workouts in there, so people would still do things, you know. But there was just a disconnect, and there was nobody that wanted to do anything, and so the gym more or less stopped for a few months. And fortunately for me,
Wow,
and very
a few
grateful.
months,
What's that?
few months.
Months, yeah. I mean,
Wow.
the whole, and the thing was just happening, and the the best thing that happened was a lot of the members, not a lot, about half of them, are like, "Hey, we're on. We're still going to keep our automatic payment going," and I'm indebted to those individuals forever. The amount of um, just being able to say that they would do that was huge for me, and to this day, like that's the sole reason that the gym's still open. And so I drove this truck for a while, and I then got the news like, hey, we can open up again. All right, great. So I had all these things I had to kind of conform to. And that was during that time I built that outdoor space. And so I was like, okay, we're going to do this. And people were on board, and it worked. And then the summer went by, and everybody was there. And wildly, the Tahoe area was just so crowded. Everybody was coming up to visit because it was such an outdoor centric place that everybody wanted to go outside. And so it was like this mecca of people, and people continued to work out. It got busy in that summer, and then fall came around, and it was, it's back to the winter, and we can't work out outside. And so I think that was the year I was like, okay, I'm not doing this game anymore. I'm not playing this game. It's gone political. I'm not playing this game no more. And so I decided to stay open, despite.
Miles, was that? Sorry to
No, it's
interrupt,
okay.
but I don't want to miss the. Was this a solely you decision,
Yeah.
or were you hearing things from your
Yeah,
members that were lead? Yeah,
that's
like
it.
do you have any
So I
examples
had a
of?
woman that was losing her mind, and like everybody else. And I shit you not, when I was told from somebody like more or less like if they don't do this, their life is over. More or less like they want to end their life. Like, I'm done. I can't handle this. Nothing's working for me. And when you're presented with that like ticking bomb, like, okay. So I thought to myself, okay, what can I do for my community? How can I help? Right? Um, Closing is not going to help anybody at all, and I'm going to stay open. And so here's what I'm going to do. And so I immediately took my entire life off of social media, and I was social media sober for 4 years. I'm proud of that. Up until about 3 months ago, I had to get back on Instagram. So, but I just removed myself. Click, done, and it was the most cleansing day ever. And I had to worry about my likes at home. You know, my kids and my wife, my members, and the people that I genuinely in person cared about. So I decided I was going to open. I said, "Hey guys, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to, do the best I can to stay safe, so to speak. I install these different fans and different things, but we're going to open. We're not going to tell anybody about it, and we're going to roll with this. And if you're in, you're in. If you're out, you're out." And people were so excited, and we did it. And the membership was very little, but it was a united group of people that knew this is what they needed. Now everybody kept safe, and all the things and all the narratives out there were right. But I literally, Denise, and I say this, and I can't believe, and one day I'm going to look back and say, what the fuck? I bought black paper to put on the windows, and it was like, so nobody knows what's going on in here. And I remember people around the country that were out there yelling, "I'm going to open up and F this and F that." And I knew that I needed to stay open, but I had to go below the radar. So I went below the radar, and I did it, and I stayed open. And I'll never forget, it was a moment I was working out with another guy, and law enforcement came by, and I see his car pull up, and I was real confrontational, real angry. And I walked to the front door, and I opened it, and he's right at the steps. And I opened it, and I said, "Listen, man, you got two options." And I pointed at him. I said, "You can arrest me right now for running my business and take me to jail, or you can leave me alone." And he goes, "Whoa, whoa, 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 man." He's like, "I just want to see if I can work out with you guys." And I was like, "Oh, cool." It was so cool because he's like, "Man, I got real laws to enforce." And, I've had to make that decision, and I don't regret any of it. And I think it was a lot of people had to make their own decisions out there. And I think that the society pushed a lot of people in different directions, and people made the decisions they had to make. And I did that, and it worked. But it was not without, like, I had to drive a semi truck, and I had to drive tractors so many hours, and I had to eat so much shit to keep the place open. But I had like a mortgage payment on the building, and I had bills to pay. And I'll tell you, like, I had to do it, and the support I had from people was cool.
Yeah, you're right or dies.
Yeah.
I don't know this for sure, but I want to say that maybe some of those members, if they were still around,
Oh, yeah.
would have been the members that
They
kept
were.
paying
Yeah, I
through.
still have some original
Yeah.
15, 16-year people that have been around since the beginning. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, it's
And that, everybody, what you just said, Miles, I still have members that have been around for 15,
yeah.
16 years.
So
Speaking to
it's crazy.
health,
Yeah.
it's health, right? It's your work capacity across broad time and modal domains
Yeah.
throughout life. You're proven in the sense that you have people that are likely still getting fitter
Yeah.
or they're maintaining their fitness, not just over 1 year, not 2 year, but 15 plus years
Yeah.
from one workout a day, following fundamentals, maybe doing a couple of extra things here or there, and like you said, working for your gym, but it's fundamentals.
Yeah. I feel like the only, in my experience with CrossFit, the evolution of what I teach and how I do it has changed slightly. More, I think I'm focusing on the keyword longevity. I think a lot of people that have been with me for a while, and I think CrossFit in my area tracks a person that's probably in their 30s to 50 range. It's kind of a pretty big window of common people there, but longevity is huge. And looking at what's trending out there in the world of fitness and health, longevity, I really love that word. And I think that if people could see, and finally some stuff starting to really poke its head, like, okay, weightlifting is good for you. Wild, right? And so as far as my message goes and how I've taken, and this is again with my own experience, because I could look at my personal records and all my old numbers, and I had a lot of a different body, and my mind was different, and my focuses and priorities were different. But when you see those numbers go down, it could be a bit depressing. But I also think like, hey man, I'm in here deadlifting. This is what I want to do. I might not be deadlifting 600 pounds right now, but I'm still deadlifting. And I was just back in the Midwest yesterday, and it was like those people don't know how to deadlift, and they're the same age as me, or they're people's priorities are different. And I just, the keeping people on the message and on the path for as long as possible, I think is a really good way to approach it for most people that own an affiliate.
And actually, recently I was talking with Nicole Carroll, and she mentioned that she visited your gym
Yeah.
with a bunch of execs,
Yeah,
right? And
that's
she
cool.
told me this story, and it blew my mind. And will you share that with us and what happened?
Yeah, so
Who either
they
wants
they
to
had
become a
a
cross.
wouldn't call it a retreat. They were just picked an area where they could all come together and work. And they were in some conference rooms locally, and then they wanted to get together and work out. And so they've done this now twice, where they just decide, hey, we want to drop into a class 6 a.m. and let's roll. And so they got to do workouts, and I saw them coming, so I made sure we had a good time. And I think one of the workouts we had sledgehammer hits, farmer carries, stuff that's really unique to our area, and it was really cool. I know the most recent one, that was the first time Dave had ever done battling ropes. It was like, hey, what is this? And I was like, yeah, we're doing it. And it was pretty neat. And it was fun. Then afterwards, they had said, hey, do you got some time to go for a hike? Let's take on a hike. And I remember taking them up on a really cool peak, just getting them up on the mountains and just hiking them around, and that was pretty neat. But having them there, it was funny. And now looking back at it, I expected, I was like, wow, a lot of these execs, I expect they do
Hold on,
CrossFit.
Miles.
What?
When you say hike,
Oh yeah, it was a little
right?
hike. It
Yeah,
was a cool
I
one. It
want
was
to.
an overlook, like a big fire lookout. And so it was really neat to have like it was up a paved road. It was really basic, I think, for the most part, but the views were pretty cool.
Tell us a little bit more about that hike, because I do know, I know from Nicole's side that there was a connection there. At
Yeah.
least you,
So
yeah.
I took them up there, and I said, hey guys, I got to talk to you guys about a little story or a little experience. And I said, listen, I had with my the whole COVID, we can go back in time and look at how much that affected everything. But what it did positively in our community is it drove my real estate through the roof, and what the value of my business was, my building, and the value of my home, and how much everything was worth. It was amazing. It was mind boggling, to say it lightly. And I had this mindset like, I'm presented with all these challenges right now, but like I got to think about my family and what's the best course of action. And so I had in my mind, I had a number that if Denise drove up to the gym and she said, hey, Miles, I want to buy your gym from you and your building. And I had a number. Everybody's for sale at some point, right? And I had this number in mind. And I was like, if somebody really offered me this much, I would absolutely say yes. Reluctantly, but I would do it because I had to think about what's going on. And so that number, and now in hindsight, is $1.8 million. And it sounds crazy, but real estate was wild. And I had this mathematical problem. So, okay, what would that buy me? So it pay off my house. The business would be done, and I'd have to pass it on to the next person. And I'd end up with, let's call it 1.2 million. I forget what the numbers came out. And with that, I'd buy a vacation home somewhere in like Florida, and I'd end up with about $500,000. And what would I do with it? I'd open up another fucking CrossFit gym, because I love this shit. And I'm glad I didn't do it because I love my people and I love my experience. But the point of it was like, I love this stuff, and I would do it again in a heartbeat, and it really, now knowing what it's so worth it, and it's such a cool journey. And so the movement of CrossFit and the power that it holds is just so immeasurable. And when you hold the keys to the door and you have this ability to help get that information out there, get that workout routine out there, and get people to do it, like it's such a powerful movement. And in a society now that we have going on with everything, everybody's looking for the easy fix or the easy pill. This is the ticket, and this is such a direct route to what people want. And they don't know it. Not everybody knows it. And all they got to do is just show up and do some burpees and do some air squats. And all of a sudden it clicks. Having people just simply go to a gym, an affiliate, and then watching them evolve is just that's freaking awesome, you know?
Hey, burpees save lives. You know, it's true. And I'm proud of you for having that conversation. And thank you for being the voice. Miles, I started this conversation by asking, like, who is Miles? How do we make more of him? Like, where's the magic come from? And I hope everybody that is watching this podcast can now understand why we wanted him on the show. Miles, we are so lucky to have you, not just for CrossFit, but as an affiliate owner. And I truly mean that. I'm in awe of affiliate owners. And so it's an honor to be speaking with you today. And if you do want people to find you, I know you don't. You live in Lake Tahoe. Is it like smoke signals or carrier pigeon?
Yeah. CrossFitAvalanche.com. Yeah, CrossFit. I just got back on Instagram. CrossFit Avalanche on Instagram. So here we are on social media again. But you know, visiting Lake Tahoe is just such an awesome place. And if you happen to be looking for a workout, come by and give us a go.
And maybe you'll take them on a hike and
maybe
just
Kings Beach, California.
Share some wisdom. No, thank you, Miles. Guys, Miles Lewis, owner and operator, head coach, everything behind CrossFit Avalanche in Lake Tahoe. If you're in the area, go see him. Don't miss that opportunity. It really is truly beautiful and magical.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
And that was Miles Lewis, folks. I hope you enjoyed our conversation as much as I did. And if you're ever in the Lake Tahoe area, you have to go visit his gym. Now, if you want to learn more about Miles and his gym, follow him on Instagram at CrossFit Avalanche. And one last thing before we sign off. It wouldn't be CrossFit without the community. So we're closing this podcast the only way we know how. Each episode will highlight folks from our community who are using CrossFit to do good in the world. And this week, we're highlighting Ashley Cullen. Ashley opened her affiliate, Big Gratitude CrossFit, in Richmond, Virginia in July. Mother of six. Yep. And wife to a military veteran, she was looking for a way to fill her time after her youngest hit the school age. The obvious answer? Start a non-profit for disadvantaged youth and military veterans and fund it by opening a CrossFit gym, where 100% of profits go straight to the non-profit. So that's what she did, and her gym is her pride and joy. When we talked to her 8 weeks after she opened, she already had 110 members, a full staff, and a strong culture of gratitude. Every week, members will write something they're grateful for on the board, and apparently responses run from super sassy and playful, like trash talk about if the Ravens will beat the Bills, to deeply moving and sincere, like teenage girls finding peace with their bodies and being excited to get strong. One thing was clear, no matter what Ashley touched, from the non-profit to the gym, it was always with so much passion and care for others. Her big goal is to get more people who are new to fitness inside her gym and let the world know that CrossFit's for them. And in true Ashley fashion, when we asked her what she'd want to share with listeners, it was that. If you look for the good, you'll find it. It's everywhere. Follow Big Gratitude Story on Instagram at Big Gratitude CrossFit. And that's it for this week, friends. So join us back here every Tuesday for the CrossFit Podcast.